So it seems as though the Luka Doncic trade has opened up the floodgates on blockbuster deals, because within the same 24 hours, we just saw another league-altering deal go down. The NBA season started on a sour note, with the ratings problem hovering over seemingly every conversation, so leave it to the most dramatic league in the world to spice things up how they know best: create more chaos through the trade market. De'Aaron Fox and the Kings have had a tumultuous relationship from the very beginning, unfortunately never being able to accomplish anything meaningful together, so about a week ago it got reported that Fox requested a trade, hoping to find success elsewhere in a fresh start. Today, that request got granted, and as I did less than 24 hours ago myself, in this video we are once again here to analyze each side of the trade, trying our best to analyze why it happened, what it means for the teams down the line, who benefits the most from it, and where they each go from here. We'll start by laying out the full details of the trade, and then we'll take a look at each side. In this trade, the Spurs received De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin, the Kings received Zach Lavine, Saidi Sissoko, 3 first-round picks, and 3 second-round picks, and the Bulls received Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their own 2025 first-round pick back from the Spurs. We'll start things off focusing on the team that came away with the grand prize of it all, the Spurs. Rumors have been coming out for a while now about the Spurs being in the hunt for an all-star caliber younger point guard to pair with Victor Wembanyama to develop as a duo for years to come. Wemby single-handedly changed the trajectory of this franchise when he was drafted last year, and despite being just 21 years old, is already making the kind of impact a franchise pillar ready for his first taste of playoff basketball would be making. They signed Chris Paul in free agency in a move that was well established as a placeholder for the position, helping Wemby progress along, benefiting from Paul's Hall of Fame level playmaking, but Paul is also 40 years old, so his presence was not an indication that they would stop seeking that long-term solution. De'Aaron Fox now comes in as that missing puzzle piece, and together he and Wembanyama are about to form one of the most unstoppable transition combos the league has seen in a very long time. Fox is well renowned for being one of the fastest players in the entire league, and Victor Wembanyama moves like a gazelle at his size in the open floor. The Spurs also just needed a reliable shot creator in their backcourt, as Paul's scoring ability is nowhere close to what it once was, and a player like Stephon Castle is an ultra competitor who is growing a ton in that regard, but is in no way consistent or efficient there yet, so adding Fox's 25 points per game will honestly make everybody's life a lot easier, allowing them to settle into roles that they're more comfortable playing at the moment. Devin Vassell is an elite off-ball shooter. Chris Paul can now run the bench unit, becoming one of the best backup point guards in the league, and on top of it all, they successfully shed themselves of the overpaid Zach Collins contract that they originally handed out to him in hopes of being able to pair him with Victor Wembanyama in the team's starting front court, only for that pairing to struggle mightily when they play together, so the contract immediately became bloated. The Spurs really didn't have to give up a lot to get this deal done outside of 3 first-round picks, and with the massive allotment of draft assets that they have under their control over the next few years, they could comfortably give these up without having to trade away pieces like Devin Vassell or Stephon Castle to get it done, and still feel pretty good about themselves moving forward. The Spurs are clearly winners here. They found their point guard of the future, and now they can realistically begin to focus on getting themselves ready for some playoff basketball. Next, we'll shift our focus over to the Kings side of things, and honestly, while none of the De'Aaron Fox situation was ideal, I don't hate how they came away from this trade either. I do have to admit that it's really not a good look that they traded away Tyrese Haliburton a few seasons ago because of the fact that they believed they already had their franchise point guard in De'Aaron Fox, only for Fox to then ask out a few years later, but this whole ordeal could definitely have gone much worse for them. Most assumed that the Kings were going to have to blow everything up after they dealt Fox, but by bringing in Zach Lavine, they've managed to replace him with one of the most efficient volume scorers of the whole league this season, and all hope is not dead by any means for them. I've been saying it all season long, but Zach Lavine has quietly been bouncing back in a big way from his down season last year, filled with struggles and injury, and now, this year, he's putting up 24 points per game, shooting a red-hot 51% from the field and 45% from three. No, he's not a point guard, nor does he come with the playmaking talent that Fox has, but he can replace the scoring that Fox left behind, and he, Domantas Sabonis, and DeMar DeRozan are still a very formidable trio. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it makes the Kings anything more than a fringe play-in team, because that's what this team was with De'Aaron Fox, and this trade does not make them a better group, but what it does do is it allows them to stay afloat while they figure out this new path that they're on. They also got more first-round picks than the Mavericks got in return for Luka Doncic earlier today, which seems like a win, or it just further emphasizes how bad that Luka Doncic trade really was for the Mavericks. And Lavine and DeRozan have a rapport from playing together previously in Chicago, so that will help build chemistry as he gets used to his new digs. Overall, they did what they had to do, and they got the best return they probably could have, which isn't going to necessarily change much about their trajectory, but it's good enough to keep things going for the time being. And finally, we'll shift our focus to the Bulls side of the trade, and I'll say right now I have a lot less positivity to shed on them. Last season, when Lavine was struggling mightily on the court and eventually had his season ended by an injury that needed surgery, I would have understood if this was the price tag put on him, because the fair assumption was that his best days may have been behind him, and the player he was did not deserve the big max contract that he's being paid. That is not the same Zach Lavine that just got traded today, though. The Zach Lavine that just got traded today is much closer to the all-star version of himself, and in some ways, he's even playing the best basketball of his career, shooting the career best from both the field and from three this season, while scoring about 24 points per game. It sounds crazy when saying it out loud, but the biggest benefit of this deal for the Bulls was getting their own first-round pick back that they had previously traded away. Think about it. They essentially traded Zach Lavine for something that was originally theirs to begin with. Kevin Huerter has been getting worse and worse each of the last 3 years, being labeled as a sharpshooter, but he can't even shoot the ball that well, at least this season. Trey Jones doesn't move the needle really at all as a backup point guard at best, and Zach Collins, as I mentioned before, can be a solid backup center, but it's nothing to get excited about, especially with that big contract that he's being paid. The Bulls willingly being part of this trade gives off the vibe that they wanted to do right by Lavine, which is very commendable and fair, but it also gives off the vibe that they just wanted this saga to be over with and were willing to accept any offer that gave them some sort of value back. They definitely came away the worst of the three teams, and they still have plenty more questions that need answering about the path they wish to go down moving forward. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about this massive trade. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.